actually turn it right on over to Mike to go over our January 2026 financial report.
Great. Thank you very much. Ken, if you can just pull them up. So these went out. Everyone should have a copy of these. Angela, if you want to walk us through
Yep.
the month and year to date.
Yep. The general fund expenditures for the month of January totaled 14.7 million. In comparison to last year, we spent 8.7 million for the same period, but this year we had a one-time spend down of expenditures. January expenses included 2 full pay periods. The general fund expenditures for fiscal year to date total 80.0 million, with an additional 84.3 million encumbered. The annual operating budget in the general fund is 172, which leaves a fund balance of 7.7 million, which equates to 4.49% of the budget. As the year progresses, we anticipate additional items that will become encumbered and drive the balance down toward a break-even point. There will also be additional expenses that the district will incur that will not be encumbered and therefore will also lower the fund balance.
Angela, if I could just jump in for the benefit of anybody, when we talk about internal controls for procurement, no one at the BOE is able to bind us to anything without first entering a requisition. That requisition then being reviewed by either myself or Angela for the general fund, or Juanita for the grants fund, and then final approval of the PO goes through me. But that last line is in there because there are instances where we do incur expenses where there is no prior PO or encumbrance. They're usually relatively small. Some of those things, I give the classic example of graduation. So toward the end of the year, Dan Donovan will have some expenses for graduation. He doesn't necessarily put a PO in before that. And I think some of the stipends for coaching as well. They're small and they're not frequent, but I just wanted to bring that to light.
Thank you. So really quickly, so I know we're talking about the one-time expenditures that we're looking at. These are specifically those items that you have listed here, or is there anything else that we're looking to use some of these funds for one-time purchases?
Yeah, we're going to continue to draw down, and Kara, I don't know if you want to speak more to that, but
Sure.
As we have that, which is essentially $4.4 million of ARPA funds that are going to cause a favorable variance at the end of the year, we were taking that opportunity to fulfill some requests for next year so that we didn't have to ask for it in the 27 budget. Some much needed updates for the district as well. Most of those are revolving around our information technology infrastructure. IT led by Gina is putting in purchases now. So you'll see month over month that there'll be incremental expense that's unbudgeted to bring that amount down, as well as some facilities projects that are coming through Dr. Seelig.
Okay. Is it possible to keep like a separate, just a balance of what those one-time expenditures are, just so we kind of have a better idea up against our regular operating budget on how much of that is really just one-time expenses that we're drawing down on?
Yeah, definitely. As these one-time items come in, they first have to be approved by Kara, and then the POs get approved by myself. And the coding, we didn't allow that coding to go just anywhere in the general ledger. They're going to very specific accounts so that I know where they are and I can isolate that. So we could definitely prepare a report of some of those one-time items.
Yeah, I think it would be good at the end of the year just to get an idea of, what I just don't like it lumped into our regular budget. Let's keep those separate. I think it gives everybody a cleaner picture of, what's our true, numbers and what's the stuff that we're kind of just.
Certainly.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, go on. Thanks.
Ken, can you bring up the summary sheet? Which would be the next one? Yeah. For benefits, we have a favorable balance due to the movement of benefits from the general fund into the grants. And this was the ARPA staff that we moved. Professional services. We outsource of professional services for the Nurses Network, Stepping Stone, Kelly Services. These are partially offset by Parrot and SPED unfilled salary and benefit positions. Also, the overage is driven by the technology encumbrances and upgrading of walkie-talkies. Other purchase services, pupil transportation, and as you see on the screen for benefits, I've included every benefit that goes on in this category. So
That's good.
it's not just Social Security, it's health, dental, life, long-term disability, workers' comp, and unemployment. And other purchase services, it's not just transportation. We have tuition, which is another big item. Let's see. Our main bus contract has been encumbered and is in our system, but we do receive also per diem charges from STA that are not encumbered until they're received. And we're going to take a closer look at the transportation to see what else may be in there. We also have a timing issue receiving the invoices from the vendor. Other supplies, which it falls under supplies. When we opened DHS West, the cafeteria, there were purchases that couldn't be paid out of the school lunch program because DHS West is a new building and the general fund had to pay for these unbudgeted items. So there is no budget for them. And under dues and fees, staff development, we also includes instructional improvements, which we've seen encumbrances come in, which is the one-time expenses for the schools for such items as furniture, instructional supplies, whiteboards. So that's what falls in there, and that's why you see that as a negative number. Can we go to the next screen? So we have all our salary accounts by the different groups. Can we go to the next page? So we have a favorable balance under salaries of 7.8. Next year, we're budgeting for longevity and stipends, and you see this year that we do not have a budget in there for it. But we're trying to bring it more in line next year as we move forward. And then we have our benefits. Can you go up just, yep, thank you. So in benefits, we have a shortfall of 43,000. But with all the different types of benefits in there, we're favorable 5.6.
Yeah, the majority of the items sitting in that benefits line is for Social Security. So those of the employees that don't pay into TRB pay into Social Security. This year looks like we're a little bit over the budgeted amount, and I've corrected for that in the 27 budget. I increased it by about 115,000 to reflect not only that $43,000 variance, but also taking into account any incremental increases for the non-certified staff that pay into Social Security.
Okay. Professional services.
In the professional services line, I just want to point out to the account 53023, which is professional services, under professional services. That a majority of that is, as Angela mentioned before, the fact that we had some vacancies that we weren't able to fill, and we went to third parties such as Stepping Stones and the Nurses Network to try to fill. So that's where that negative 1.3 came from. Again, it was adjusted for in the fiscal year 27 budget. And then the very next line underneath that, that large negative number, the 5.4, Louisa, that list that I provide that shows all of the one-time items, you'll see the majority of the technology stuff is in that technology services account, the 53025. It's not necessarily a technology service, but it's the account that we chose for it to go all in one place so we could keep track of it.
Okay.
And then toward the end, you'll see that there's a favorable variance of 411,000 for PTOT. There were two categories back when I started of employees that were W-2'd employees, and they were being charged professional services. I don't know if you remember last year, it was the paraeducators and tutors. The ones that were W-2'd should be in that first section with all the salaries. So we moved those. And then this year we moved the PTOT. So anyone that's a physical or occupational therapist, if they are a W-2'd employee, while the budget was here, the actuals were moved into the 51,000 line. Sorry, Angela, go ahead.
Yep, that's okay. Can we go to page 4? Thank you. So we have some property services.
The main driver here is that
There's
last
the
one.
rentals.
Yep, it's rentals. So we were slightly under budget on the rentals. Again, we've addressed that in fiscal year 27, and we have an additional amount in rentals for next year in the budget for an additional building that we plan to have rent in.
That's the Granville.
Granville, correct.
That's preschool. Yeah. Preschool expansion.
Oh, okay.
Other purchase services, like I said before, I also included tuition because it's a big item, not just the transportation. We have tuition for SPED, private, VOAG, SPED public. The SPED private, we have an overage of 1.0 or 1.1 million.
Yeah.
We get people all the time coming in the district. So children coming in, they have special needs. If we don't have the services here, we have to outsource. And we have other districts or schools that we send them to.
Yeah, it's always a watch for me, the tuition, just because one individual that comes in that we would have to outplace. Some of those we see are several $100,000. So if you have one or two of those. Additionally, while we're only seeing about a 2.7% increase in consumer price index, which is what we use to measure inflation, we're seeing that the increases in tuition are much beyond that. And there's really not a tight policy in place at the state level to control what they're charging. I think there's something in the works now. So we unfortunately are seeing a rise in tuition for our special education. And again, it was addressed for in the 27 budget. If you remember, we had a small increase for tuition.
Quick question. Do we know about how many students fall in that line?
I don't know off the top of my head, Kara. I don't know if you have it.
No, I could get that. Maybe 100 students.
Curious.
I can ask Kelly.
Okay.
Of the total, how many we have out of district. I don't know why 100 says in my mind, but I could be wrong on that. I could certainly ask her.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
It's just good to know whether it's, you
Yeah.
know, 1,000 or, you know, 100, gives us a better idea of pricing,
Mhm.
cost.
Yes, absolutely.
The next screen. Or supplies. We're 1.7 favorable. I know the schools are putting in their orders for the end of the year. Almost every day, so we will see that rise as they get their merchandise and we pay the invoices.
That's largely out of instructional supplies, Angela, you're right.
Mm,
The,
yeah.
the other two items I wanted to point out, and just today I had an update on. So natural gas, we are favorable 492,000 year to date, and it looks like that the expenses are coming in much less than we anticipated when we were preparing the budget. And then right under that is electric. That's coming in an unfavorable $160,000, and that's largely due to the opening of the new high school, DHS West. Part of that, I believe, is when they calculated the delivery charge, the cost, they were including averages in the summer when we weren't occupying the building. We had many doors and windows still not installed. There were bay doors open, but the air conditioner was on and circulating, and it drove that bill up. But I did just recently see an email from our director of facilities, and there is going to be an adjustment there. And then in respect to natural gas, we lowered that for the 27 budget. We slightly increased the electric, and we just got word from the city that they negotiated the
All
propane,
contract.
gasoline, and natural gas at favorable rates. So the rates that they're locking into for this year are less, nothing to write home about, but based upon the usage that we have now, if I were to apply that to next year's rates versus this year's rates, it's probably somewhere around $100,000 in savings that we'll see due to the lower rates.
Can I ask you what the custodial supplies there, that number right there? Is that what,
Custodial-
it says custodial supplies, it's showing 70, is that 70,000?
Yes,
Yes.
negative 70,000.
Yeah, negative.
Yeah, custodial supplies, as well as some of the other supplies, they typically wait until the latter part of the year to order these. This one is slightly over, as you noted. Custodial supplies really are the facilities management department ordering cleaning supplies to clean the actual schools.
Mhm.
Okay.
Louisa, Kelly got back. She said it's just a little over 50 students.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite a large
That's-
impact.
That's a huge, yeah. Wow. Okay.
I also just wanted to point out in error here, under the line district software and licenses, for the year-to-date actuals, you'll see that there's a credit of 733,000. And because there's no budget, that's leading to a favorable variance, $725,000 variance. That was an accounting error that has been corrected subsequently, but it did make it through to these financials, unfortunately. And then if we go,
Enrollment impact,
yep,
we're favorable with 449,000.
yep.
Dues and fees and staff development.
Angela, can I just
Yeah.
stop you 1 second for
Yes, go right ahead.
enrollment impact? I think it's important to note. So we have a line second from the bottom, Magnet School, with $357,869 budgeted with no expense.
Mhm.
So the Magnet School that we operate is largely funded through a grant. And the purpose of this line in its beginning was to supplement the cost for the Magnet School over and above what the grant covers. And again, most of those expenses are salary and benefits, which really wouldn't belong in the 57008. And historically, nothing has been charged to it. So again, I made that correction for the 2027 budget I made sure that the salaries for the magnet school were accounted for in the salaries, the benefits are accounted for in the benefits. So year over year, budget to budget, you'll see a $357,000 or $358,000 reduction because I removed that budget line. And that really is what's driving the $449,000 favorable variance.
And then dues and fees and staff development. This is where the instructional improvements are. For the 195,000 so far of expenses that we have encumbered. in
Right,
order
again,
to place.
this will be in that one-time,
Mhm, one-time
with-
item.
Yep.
Okay. And the next screen, we have, this was created, I guess, last year, right, Mike? Or did you do it the year before?
Well, when Mr. Janelli was
Yeah.
chair, he asked us to put this, it's a month-by-month comparison, which can be helpful, certainly to see timing of when we pay things. So this is not going to include any of the purchase orders. This is just the year, it'll tie to the year-to-date expense.
Mhm.
And you'll see some of the, if you want to scroll down, you'll see some of the timing variances are apparent in here, such as transportation, where they might not send us a bill in time for us to pay it and get it through the accounts payable cycle. Or another common one is utilities. Sometimes we don't get the utilities bills on time to make it into
Yes.
that month's pay cycle. So you'll see fluctuations month to month, but the real fluctuations you're going to see month to month are those usually 2 months throughout the year where we have 3 payrolls instead of 2. You'll see that that's a large increase in that first line in the 51,000 section of salaries because we're paying 3 payrolls in 1 month.
Does anybody have any questions so far as we're going through? I can't see everybody. And this committee or non-committee, if anybody has questions, just raise your hand. Sean, you can type them in the chat if you have any questions. Okay, if not, we'll keep going.
If you go to page 11, this is where the grants are.
Yeah, Angela, I thank you again for creating this. I think you, I'll say borrowed it from another district you were at. I think it's very helpful to see the grants just in general can be very confusing. We have many different types of grants. So we have grants from the state government. We have federal grants. We have grants that are what we call entitlement grants. And then grants that are competitive. Some of our grants are 1 year long. Some of them are 2 years long. In line with the calendar year, the school's fiscal year, so the 7/1 to 6/30. And it could just be difficult in trying to parse through what grant is what. So Angela kind of put this together, and it shows that the name of the grant number is just more internal, so we can keep track of it in the accounting software. And then the next is the grant type. So you'll see if it's either state or federal, and then the person that's responsible really for the grant itself, and then the award period and the length is really what's interesting to me. And then when it expires, the expiration date, and then at the end we put the budget, the expenditures, the encumbrance, and the balance. Again, with any of these reports, Angela and I are happy to change them around as you see fit, whatever's most beneficial for the board. We're more than happy to do.
To my committee members, as you go through these at home, if you need any additional explanation or you come up with any questions, we don't just end once the committee's over. You know, feel free, send questions out anytime. I'd rather have you, understand everything, rather than going through and saying, oh my gosh, what was that? So I know it's a lot of numbers and a lot of information, but you'll get it. So, you'll get it. All right. Thanks, Mike. I really like this grant summary report. This is really, I think it's easy to follow, and it's really, it's got a good explanation of everything, especially for somebody that might not know too much about the grants. I think it's easy to follow. So thank you,
Agreed.
Angela, Mike, both of
You're
you.
welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Any questions from any of the board members, committee members, non-committee members? Questions, concerns?
Louise, if I could just add in one other item. We started the fiscal year 25 audit. So I feel like we've been in perpetual audit since I started 3 years ago. But we're very up to date now. We're not 3 years behind. So we just started that. We're in the first section of it, which is the planning. After all the planning documents are in, they'll start the field work. We'll submit our general ledgers, and they'll come back with questions and ask for documents. Usually, a lot of payroll stuff and accounts payable. But just wanted to put it on the radar that we did start, and Angela has been chopping away at the requests.
Awesome. Can you just explain, like, it, because I know we have a few new people on the committee, like what's the time frame for these audits usually? What does it entail? What exactly are they asking of us, and what is it that you're doing?
Yeah, so the Danbury Public Schools rolls up to the city of Danbury, and the city of Danbury is required to produce an ACFR. It's an annual comprehensive financial report, similar to the 10Ks and 10Qs that public companies go through. So what they do is they come in and they get an understanding. What they actually call it an understanding. So they look at our policies and our procedures. And they'll ask us to define them, to verify them. They'll ask for confirmations, so confirm, so that they could reach out to major vendors like our legal vendors for confirmation that what we're showing in our general ledger is accurately what they charge us and what we paid. And then they will pick, they put it into their software, and they pick different items to test and make sure that we're compliant with the policies and procedures, and that the financial statements that ultimately the city presents are prepared in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles in the United States. And that's really a high level of it. On the nitty gritty for us, the way that comes through is there's a portal. Our auditor is RSM. So RSM has a portal, and their portal is called Suralink. And we all have access, and we all have our own accounts in Suralink. And they'll put requests up and they'll post them. And then we get email notifications that someone from RSM has posted a request. And we can go in and view what their request is. And then based upon what the request is, it'll get routed. Some of the things get routed to Joanne at the city. Some of them get routed right to Angela. Some of them get routed, if they're grants, to Juanita. Some of them are myself. And then we'll just work through and fulfill their request by uploading documents into that system. And then they usually come back and have additional follow-up questions. They want to see additional invoices, purchase orders, pay stubs, things of that nature.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any questions for Mike on any of that? Audit, fun stuff with the audit? No, I know, it's exciting stuff. Kara, do you have anything you want to add?
I do want to condemn, that's not a good word, commend the finance team for the work on the audits. It has been, since the whole team has been new and hired, that's all that they've done round the clock under intense pressures and timelines. As the city was doing the same thing, everybody was working on the catch up. And as we've gone through, I think the learnings and the audit findings have been eye-opening for where we need to improve. We were behind 3 years, and it was pretty much only last year that we realized we needed to update our policies. We need to make sure that our purchasing was in line with those policies, and we instituted some controls that are now in place. So, as they continue to go through the audits, we're still, catching up to the ways of the old, and seeing that, coming surface. But moving forward, I think we've got a pretty tight process in place right now. So the purchasing, the procurement has really tightened up. It was a huge shift for us in the way we did business. And it wasn't that anybody was doing anything nefarious. It's just that to have stricter and tighter controls on things, in line with our policy that are also in line with general accounting practices, those three things needed to come into tighter alignment. And so I think that we've done that. And so, I'm looking forward to, the audit where we can feel like we've had our stamp on it and we could stand behind that pretty confidently. So we're getting there. We're still digging. But again, I just want to thank Angela and Mike, and there's a whole team behind them as well who worked really hard on the compliance piece. The audits were all consuming. They are all consuming, but on the timeline that they're in, they've done a great job. So I just want to say thank you.
And aside from audits, I mean, they do have their daily
Regular job.
they
That was the
do.
hard part about this, is that it's we're still operating. Mike has food service under his belt. We went through a massive conversion last year. In the midst of the audits, we converted over to a whole new food service company, which was a big shift. We hadn't done that in like 20 years. So that was a massive conversion while we're opening a brand new building. There's so many things happening. So there's a lot of layers to what folks do that people don't see often. So it's important to make sure everybody knows how much appreciated. So I do appreciate you guys.
Thank you, Kara. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Kara. I mean, sometimes we're at the board and we don't see a lot of what happens behind the scenes, but there's a lot of work that goes into putting all of this together, and there's a lot of work to finances. These is not little bucks. These are big bucks that you guys are working on. So thank you for. I tell you, I saw what you guys did with the budget just this year, and I was, you guys have done a great job. So we appreciate all of you. We do.
Thank you.
So any other questions for my committee members? No? Okay. Now, do we need to make a motion to?
I just would like to ask a question. I don't know if it's going to go to Mike or the superintendent. And looking over the budget, my question is, and I heard it last week, I think we was at a presentation, a surplus. We're asking for 175 to support the budget. And ever since I've been on the board, our theme has always been keep teachers in front of students. So my question is, in this budget, once it's put together, and I don't claim to be no magical person with my length on the board, and I just don't think it's good to understand the budget, but as a finance person, that's the finance person's job. So my question is, out of this budget, it goes down to City Hall in a committee. Is there anything in there that's going to show up where we have a surplus, and what is it? And can we account for it?
So so it's a good question. So I'll take that kind of in two parts.
Okay.
So the budget that we put together for next year, and then address the surplus issues that we've had in the last couple. And I'll start with the surpluses that we've had in the last couple of years. And so being behind in audits for multiple years means that you really can't see the bottom, right? You're treading in kind of murky water. So you only see what's above. And so you operate within a bubble that it doesn't necessarily paint you a picture of and give you a roadmap to let you know how you're spending, what you're spending it on, are things being charged appropriately, where you're high, where you're low, and your trends and patterns are. And so you're only operating with information that you have in front of you.
Right.
The audit allows you to see what's beneath you and your operations and your efficiencies and your trends and patterns. And so I'd say we were probably flying blind for a few years in that. And so as we were asking Our asks were based on only what we could see and what we were feeling, and not necessarily the reality of our financial power underneath. And so that's where the audits were, for as much of a difficult situation that is, so needed to be able to help us navigate and steer the school system. The budget, as a result of learning about those audits, understanding where we've been budgeting too high or not enough or wherever, in this case, our staffing, right, and benefits and over budgeting in those areas led to this pattern of surpluses. And so as a result of that, Gladys, we adjusted the way we budgeted this year dramatically to anticipate the fact that we now know we were over budgeting, particularly in benefits and some salaries, and needing to put some money in other places, such as agencies. So in a very proactive way, instead of just rolling our budget forward, we took those measures into account, made some adjustments on salary and benefits, and changed the way we plan for those benefits, and to come up with the 3 million ask, which is far below what we've asked for, way far below in the past, to take into consideration. So do I think next year's budget, I don't think we're going to be turning up any surpluses. And in fact, we're going to have to, I think I use the term razor's edge to, continue to monitor that. We're a big district. We have fluctuations. We have surprises. We have needs that come up during the year. And so, but we also are still working on hiring and staffing. So some of that could wash out. So we'll be monitoring that very closely. We're able to kind of go as close as we have gone, because we do know we have a little bit of backup. We don't really want to have to use that. We want to make sure that that's a real rainy day, like really pouring, for us to use that, but it's there if we need it. Similarly with the healthcare reserve, we are completely stocked on the healthcare reserve. We have a lot of insurance there. Should we tend to, have a couple of high claimants that run our budget over, that's what the reserve is for, right? That's the purpose of the reserve. So we can run tighter right on the line with this budget. And as a result of that, I don't think we're going to see any surplus unless we can't hire the other staff that we are anticipating. But that's where the monitoring comes in. I feel like there's a much better, as a flashlight on the work. We can kind of see where we're going now. Laying the budget out as clearly as we did is helpful. Also utilizing some of the tools that we have available to us, our financial software. We're learning how to utilize that and to greater degrees. So that also helps with projection and predictability within our budget.
Thank you.
Welcome.
And just for our new people, once that budget gets adopted, it becomes the board's budget. So, oversight falls on the Board of Ed. So, that's why we have these committee meetings. That's why we talk about it. That's why we have these reports in front of us, because that's why finances is so important. So we have the training. We'll talk about, understanding a little bit more about that, but it's really important for us to kind of oversee all of this. So that's why we meet. That's why we do this. So, anything else from anybody else on the call? Mike, Angela, Kara?
This might,
Oh, Sherry, go ahead.
this is kind of going back, but I was just wondering, when you do have to outsource a student, does it depend, is it the same price for every student, or does it depend on each student's needs? And you might have already said that, but
Great question.
I didn't catch it all.
Sure. Great
Okay.
question. Particularly when it comes to students with special needs, those needs range greatly. The facilities range greatly. The prices that the facilities charge ranges greatly. There's a tremendous amount of variability. The distance with which we have to make a placement sometimes can be great, also increasing the transportation costs for the district as well. So it's probably one of the most volatile budget lines in the budget is that area. And you could have, two students that just move into the district, and that's happened to us. And you have to, they move in and they have things that are going on, and within a short period of time you have to make a placement because you can't meet the needs within the school system. We try really hard to meet the needs in the school system. But sometimes, that also results in more staff in-house as well. So it's kind of a fine line with what we can service and then what is the right thing to do in terms of providing an environment that best suits the needs of the student. But it ranges. A student could need speech, OT, PT, or
Right.
heavy psychological, treatment, or part of that, or all of it, or none of it, and just have a different.
Right.
So it ranges.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, great. So if I don't hear, my question, do we need to make a motion to move this financial report out of committee?
I think you're going to approve the minutes in the board meeting, but
So-
I think you want a motion to accept the minutes not to accept the minutes, to
Except the
No.
financial.
financials. Thank you.
Financial report.
Right,
Need
so
a
we have-
motion to accept the financial committee's report.
Okay, thank you, Gladys. Okay. Do I have a motion to accept the January 2026 financial reports as presented?
Yes, motion.
Thank you, Sherry. I have a motion made by Sherry. Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Cindy. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Perfect. Okay. If we have nothing else, do I hear a motion to adjourn? Yeah. Okay, Sean, Cindy, you making the motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you. Do I hear a second? Second by
Second.
Sean.